Hey everyone, you're watching Tamit Saleh's Tennis Forum and welcome to this week's episode of Tennis Tuesday. Now, I let you guys decide the topic of this week's video. I put a poll out 5 days ago. Over 250 votes came in and there was one resounding winner. 71% of you guys decided that I should do a my top 5 matches of this decade video. So that is what I'm going to do today. Also, I let you guys comment some ideas or questions, which I will be answering 3 questions from 3 of you guys in this video as well. So yeah, this is your video, but it's going to be my top 5 matches. You can disagree with me, agree with me, but yeah, leave your comments down below. If you missed last week's video, please do check that out. I was doing a blindfold type of challenge where I had to name Grand Slam winners from this decade and the runner-up and etc. Take part in it and write your score down. I love the fact that so many of you guys did take part, wrote your scores down. It was quite a fun and different type of video. But yeah, in this video, I will be talking about my top 5 matches of this decade. There was many to choose from, so I'll try and narrow it down to 5. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. So as I've said, 71% of you guys wanted this video, so here it goes. I put a poll out 4 hours ago now and already around 250 votes have come in, and I asked you guys which do you think is the best match of this decade. And once again, a very one-sided answer. I put 5 options up, which was the Djokovic Federer US Open 2011 semi-final, the Djokovic-Nadal Australian Open 2012 final, the Nadal-Djokovic French Open 2013 semi-final, the Federer-Nadal Australian Open 2017 final, and finally the Djokovic-Federer, the Wimbledon final this year, 2019. And then, you could put your own options in as well. But out of those 5 matches, 70% have voted for the Djokovic-Nadal Australian Open 2012 final. Personally, it is very hard for me to disagree with you guys. That match was epic. The funny thing is, I remember it as if I was watching it yesterday. It's just so, I remember the emotions, the length of the match. It was the longest ever Grand Slam final in history. It was 5 hours and 53 minutes long. So yeah, it was a titanic battle between the world number 1 and world number 2 of the time. Funnily enough, fast forward almost 8 years on and they're still the world number 1 and 2. But wow, what a match that was. I remember watching it. It was so in the UK, the Australia Open final starts at around 8:30, 8 a.m, something like that. And I always make sure I wake up for it on the Sunday. And yeah, that match was going into lunchtime. Yeah, it was just ridiculous, that match. Djokovic, for me, the favorite of that match was Rafa Nadal. This was going in from the 2011 season where, as you know, Djokovic was really playing the tennis of his life. He had established himself as a best player and had reached that world number 1. He'd won the Wimbledon and the US Open coming into the Australian Open. So he was trying to do 3 slams in a row. But in that match, yeah, I had Nadal as favourite simply because of that semi-final that Djokovic had against Andy Murray, a 5-set thriller, which was 4 hours and 50 minutes. So, yeah, I thought he would be fatigued. I thought the only way Novak can win this is a straight set victory. I felt like if Rafa was to win any of the sets, he would go on simply because of, Novak's fatigue as well. But Djokovic, wow, what a performance he put up. It was just crazy. Rafa won the first set 7-5. At that point, you'd think Rafa, really is the favourite now. Djokovic came back 6-4, 6-2 the next 2 sets. So he's now 2 sets to 1 up. Really got the momentum now. I think he changed his t-shirt to a white one, I believe, in that match. So yeah, he's now really, got the win behind him. In the 4th set, it went to a tiebreak. Djokovic was slightly ahead, but then Rafa came back to win that 4th set 7-6. And if I remember correctly, after he won the set, he was down on his knees really celebrating. Rafa, very pumped player as it is. But yeah, you don't normally see a player go down on the knees simply for winning a set. So that was quite a big celebration. And then you felt that the momentum had then swung back to Rafa now, going into the fifth. Rafa was 4-2 up in that fifth set, I remember. And I feel like the point that cost him was at 4-2, he just broken serve. So he's now trying to consolidate that break of serve. And then he missed a very easy down the line winner. I think it was a backhand, because I think it was on the right hand side of the court from where I was watching it. So yeah, it was a backhand down the line. Novak was at the net. He was not going to get to it. And then, yeah, Rafa missed that. And that match for me swung the match. Novak then went on to break back in that game, level things up. And then 7-5, he won the fifth set, winning the Australian Open, defending his Australian Open from the previous year. So that was a phenomenal match. I am not surprised that it got so many of your guys' votes. And for me, definitely in the top five. Definitely in the top five, and arguably the best match of the decade, if not the best match ever. Some of the other matches, that have been mentioned, like the Djokovic Federer Wimbledon final this year, earlier on this year, finishing 13-12 in a fifth set tiebreak. It was the first time this new fifth set tiebreak rule for Wimbledon was used. 13-12 in the tiebreak, a phenomenal match. Novak Djokovic, as you know, saving 2 match points on Federer's serve. Just an outstanding match. Very easy to remember it as it happened very recently. Another match where Novak Djokovic also saved 2 match points against Roger Federer was the US Open 2011 semi-final. Novak then went on to win that title as well. But yeah, that semi-final was just Federer, stormed off 2 sets up. Novak then came back to make it 2 sets all. Federer with the match points in the fifth set, but then Novak then came on to win, and it just shows how mentally strong Djokovic is. For me, the one of the most memorable matches is that Djokovic Nadal 2013 semi-final. It was, for me, their best ever match on clay, or in the Grand Slams at least. I know they had a classic in Rome. I think that was before this decade though, but yeah, in the slams at least, that was for me the best match between the pair. Novak Djokovic, another memorable moment was that that kind of like overhead put away, but then because of his momentum, he touched the net. He was trying to bend over it, but he touched it, and that was at 4-3 juice in the fifth set. Novak 4-3 serving, so he's a break-up already with a chance to go 5-3 up, only 1 game away from victory against Rafa on clay. That's how hard that is. And he touched the net, and then he lost his serve in that game. So that was a crucial turning point, I felt, in that match. But another brilliant match. One thing to remember is Rafa had only lost once on clay before this. I know a couple of years later, Novak Djokovic did beat Rafa on the clay in the French Open. But yeah, that 2013 semi-final, outstanding, that match. And finally, we have the Federer-Nadal Australian Open 2017 final. This match was very special, especially for fans of the big three, and like myself, been watching them my whole life, really. I know, so when I started watching tennis from around 2004, 2005, and as you know, that's when Federer started, his dominance began. So all I really know is the big three from my actual watching live. They're all I know. They're the champions. I've not seen tennis before them, and long may it continue. But yeah, it really seemed like Federer and Nadal, because of their injuries in 2016, would they be able to come back to the top? And then wow, what a final they produced. Even getting to the final for both of them was an achievement in itself. And yeah, in the final, Roger Federer defeating Rafa Nadal in 5 sets. Now, the last time before this match Federer had beaten Rafa in a slam, any round, was in the 2007 Wimbledon final. So 10 years, almost 10 years, he'd not beaten Rafa in a Grand Slam. And then he went to a final. Many people, like myself, I thought Rafa would comfortably, or fairly comfortably, beat Roger in probably 4 sets. The matchup doesn't suit Roger, as you know, and Rafa kind of owned him at that point. A massive head-to-head advantage as well. And yeah, Roger Federer, and you'd think the only way Federer would win if it was a very short match, maybe straight sets or something like that. The minute it goes to a 5th set, you're putting Rafa as favourite, simply because, the stamina side really then clicks on. But then, you know, the sets themselves were, it wasn't like 1 hour a set or something silly like that, like the Australian Open 2012 final. Quite short sets. So even though he went to a fifth, Roger had plenty left in the tank and capped off quite possibly the greatest comeback ever. I mean, coming back from injury at his age as well, winning that 18th Grand Slam. Remember, he'd not won a slam since 2012 Wimbledon, I believe. He'd not won a slam since. So 5 years later, adding to that tally, phenomenal match. Some matches I feel like they need a mention. And there was a comment, sorry, just bear with me guys. There was a comment by Victor Ochoa, so props to you. He actually mentioned a lot of them as well. The Djokovic Nadal Wimbledon 2018 semi-final, the return of Djokovic, to say, phenomenal match, 5 sets under the roof. Yeah, brilliant match that was. Djokovic Wawrinka 2013 Australian Open, I believe it was the round of 16. Great match that was as well. Nadal, Juan Martín del Potro, Wimbledon 2018 last year, phenomenal match. The US Open, the final, we've just seen the latest Grand Slam final between Nadal and Medvedev. Feel like that was a really good match as well. And one match that I remember as well was in last year US Open as well, between Rafa Nadal and Dominic Thiem. That was a brilliant match, and yeah, 5 sets, probably match of the tournament for me as well. So that was a really good match. So thank you, Victor, for mentioning some of these. Please do let me know if I've forgotten any. But yeah, my top 5 was the 5 I put out in the poll. Check that out. And for me, if I had to pick one from all of these great matches, it would probably be Australia Open 2012, that final between Rafa and Novak. And yeah, as you can see, all of these finals really include the big 3 in all of them. Simply because they make pretty much all the Grand Slam finals. A lot of them are between themselves as well. But yeah, when you take into account the quality of play, what's on stake as well. Because just remember, each slam we enter now, it's not simply Rafa or Novak or Roger just adding an extra slam. It's not that. It's history now. Who can end with the most slams? So each slam, it's crucial now. It's not just one slam, it's a tally of slams now. So that's why those matches are extra special, extra important as well. But yeah, those are my 5. Please do let me know, like I've said, what you guys think. I will be capping this video off by answering a couple of your questions. So first question, he got the most thumbs up in that poll as well, was by a friend of a very good friend of the channel, it must be said. Always come, you know, brilliant comments, brilliant analysis, and he's very unbiased as well. So it's from Luis Ayala, who asked about the Wimbledon seedings. Is it unfair? What do I think of it? Etc. As you know, the Wimbledon seeding is different to the other tournaments. Normally it just goes off based on their rankings. However, in Wimbledon, it's their rankings plus all the grass points they've accumulated within that past 12 months leading up to Wimbledon, and then 75% of any grass points accumulated the 12 months prior to that. So really, it's like a 2-year period they measure it on. Personally, like, look, I know why some may see as unfair or not. Seedings wise, I think it's okay. That's just my honest opinion. You don't need to agree with me, but for me, it's just like, it gives grass that extra value. We all know how short that grass season is, so you know, just giving the grass players maybe a little bit of advantage. And yeah, just I see no problem with it. I can see, like, for instance, this Wimbledon in 2019, Rafa was demoted to seed 3. Roger was upgraded to a seed 2. It didn't really change anything because they met in the semi-finals regardless. But yeah, I personally, I don't really have a problem with it. I think I was asked that if it was a British player, or, you know, my favorite player, whoever that may be, was in that situation, and they kind of came worse off from the seeding scenario, if I would mind. Personally, I don't think it's a major problem. I think it's okay. I quite like the fact that they value the grass as well. So I wouldn't mind even if the French Open, for instance, followed suit and made it like, you know, it's your ranking points plus your clay points from that year as well. For me, that's completely fine. It is a seeding system. It's not the ranking. So I can see why seedings may be different. Going on from that, a question asked by sorry, just bear with me. A question asked by Gene Swart, another friend of the channel as well, always very active, and I appreciate all of you guys, really, I appreciate it. He's asked about, that there should be a Masters 1000 for the grass. I think that is, I've been thinking of this as well for years now. Why is there no, Masters 1000 for the grass? It is probably the most iconic or traditional surfaces, yet it seems to be shown the least amount of love. I think I read an article somewhere where they've reduced the grass season simply because to protect players from injury, slipping and sliding on the grass. I don't know how that's different to the clay where you slide around more, but yeah, they've done that for the grass. And yeah, it's not long you get of the grass. You get probably Germany, and then Queens, and then Wimbledon. So it's a very short, it's the grass season is done within a month. So personally, I would have a Masters 1000 in the grass. If they're not going to make the season longer, then you could potentially replace one of the the US based Masters. I think they have quite a few Masters in the US, so maybe take one of those away, or take the Paris Masters away. There's already a French Open there, and then have a grass Masters 1000 in that build up to Wimbledon. Maybe you could upgrade Queens or Harley to a Masters 1000 level. I know they've already received upgrades quite recently. They were ATP 250s, and they're now ATP 500s. But yeah, they could be upgraded to ATP or a Masters 1000. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think that's a really good idea, and I really do want to see a grass Masters 1000 as well. Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Jean. And finally, a comment by I've not seen this person before on the channel, so I've welcome to the channel. It's by Zainab Mavundla. Sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. But yeah, you've asked, why is Djokovic regarded as the greatest returner? Is it based on stats or anything like that? Now, all of these, it's based on opinion. It's quite subjective. However, with Novak Djokovic, he is seen as the greatest returner of all time by many, including myself, simply because when he returns the ball, it's not just getting it back into the court with him. It's quite an aggressive shot. I read an article where Novak Djokovic has the most return winners out of anyone. So that could be a stat to agree with this claim. But then also there's another stat where the most amount of games won against the serve, Rafa is ahead of Novak in that list. I think Novak is 4th, Rafa is 2nd. So likewise, Rafa or his fans can say that Rafa is the greatest returner. He's better than Novak, at least, because he's broken more games. But you have to see what type of question you're asking. Is it who's the best at breaking games, or who is the best at that return shot? Not the rally that comes after it, but simply that return shot off the serve. And for me, I think Novak is the best, simply because he gets it back to you most of the time, at your feet, and it's very hard to return, and he's many return winners. So for me, just the actual return of serve, I feel like Novak Djokovic is the best. I'll wrap it up there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do, like I've said, let me know what you think. What is your top 5 matches, or what is your greatest match of this decade? Please, nothing before 2010. I know a few people are saying that the decade is actually 2011 to 2020. However, I'm taking it through what the ATP website are saying, what Wikipedia is saying, all of these things like that. So I'm taking it from 2010 to 2019, this decade. Any matches in there, please do let me know. If there's some great Masters 1000 matches or anything that straight away comes to mind, or there might be a memorable moment in a match that comes to mind as well. Drop a comment below. As always, I appreciate everything you guys have to say. I try to respond to most, if not all, of your comments. Lately I've been a bit slow, simply because I've been so busy lately, guys. I'm really sorry. And also why I'm only doing 1 video a week. But yeah, I always try my hardest to get this 1 video a week out for you guys. But yeah, just bear with me. I have been quite busy lately with a lot of different projects and my job lately as well. So yeah, I appreciate everything. Please do subscribe. If you haven't already, do subscribe. I keep forgetting my whole YouTube. I need to get my YouTube hat on. But yeah, please do subscribe if you haven't already for weekly tennis content. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this one.